Here you can see that this question is related to speed time graph. Here you can see that it is a speed time graph. First of all, before starting the solution of the question, you will have to observe that this is speed and time graph. Okay, I told you with reference to the speed time graph that the gradient of the graph gives acceleration, and area under the graph gives you distance or displacement. I told you that whether it is speed time graph or velocity time graph, both the graphs are drawn the same way. So here its gradient gives you the acceleration and area under the graph gives you the displacement or distance traveled. Is it clear? At time t 15 second, the brakes are applied and the car comes to rest with uniform deceleration. Okay? State the speed of the car just before the brakes are applied. Now, here you can see 11.5. Now, listen to me very carefully. Actually, sometimes students do not follow that how to read the graph. Because here, if you are observing from 0 to 5 interval, this interval of 0 to 5 is divided into how many boxes? 10 boxes. It means for 1 meter per second, there are 2 boxes. You will have to observe this very carefully. Initially, you will have to see this. It means for 2 boxes, the speed is shown 1 meter per second. Okay? Because 1 meter per second, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5 meter per second. Now here, this is 10, this is 11, and this is 12. So in between, it is 11.5 meter per second. So here you are going to write 11.5. This question is carrying 1 mark. Okay, are you observing? This question is carrying 1 mark. Now here I have not mentioned the unit. Remember this, keep in your mind that if you are not mentioning the unit here, so examiner may deduct 1 mark. Even you have written the right answer, he has option to deduct your mark. Okay, so if you are not writing the unit meter per second, there is no chance of giving half mark. It is 11.5 meter per second. Any doubt about it? Please. Okay. Explain what is meant by uniform deceleration. So I have written a very precise answer that uniform deceleration mean if its velocity is decreasing by equal amount in equal intervals of time. Decreasing, because he is talking about deceleration. So you will have to talk about decrease in velocity. Is that clear? Yes. Any doubt related to this? No. Okay, very good. Now, next part. Now, a lorry travels at a constant speed of 18 meter per second. It is very important to understand this question. A lorry travels at a speed of 18 meter per second for 15 seconds. Okay? You will have to keep this question in your mind. For 15 seconds, at time t 15 second, the brakes are applied. It means it was moving with constant velocity of 18 meter per second, and for 15 seconds it was moving. And after the 15th second, the brakes are applied. When the brakes are applied, and the lorry slows down with the same deceleration as the car. It is very important to see that with the same deceleration as the car. You will have to keep this in your mind. And I told you initially that the gradient of the velocity time graph or speed time graph gives you the acceleration or deceleration. So it means whatever the gradient of the line, whatever the slope of the line, that slope of the line is giving you the deceleration. If two lines have the same gradient, what common thing you will observe in them? If two lines have the same gradient, listen to me very carefully. If two lines have the same gradient, what is common in them? They are parallel lines. If two lines have the same gradient, it means they are parallel line. Okay. Now here you will have to observe a lorry travels at a constant speed of 18 meter per second for 15 seconds. Okay. Now at time t 15 seconds, the brakes are applied and the lorry slows down with the same deceleration as the car. You will have to observe it very carefully that he is saying the same deceleration as the car. Now what he is saying? On figure 1.1, draw the speed time graph for the lorry. Draw the speed time graph for the lorry. Now 15, 16, 17 and 18. So I will have to draw a horizontal line because it is moving with uniform velocity, constant velocity of 18. Till which point I have to draw?
15.
Till 15 second. Okay, you will have to see that which line is for the 15 second, and by observing it very carefully, you will have to draw the line like this, okay. So till 15 second it is moving with constant or uniform speed. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now at the 15 second the brakes are applied. It is very important because normally students are doing it without understanding. I have seen them. Actually, when the brakes are applied, it is decelerating with the same rate as the car. This slopey line is showing the deceleration of the car. Okay. So the lorry is also decelerating with the same rate. I told you, if two lines have the same gradient, then they are parallel lines.
Yes.
If two lines have the same gradient, then they are parallel lines. Huh? Is this okay?
Yes.
Are you getting this? Yes. It means I have to draw a line parallel to this line. Okay, that line must be parallel to this line. Now here you can see that how many marks this question is having? Two questions. It means examiner want to see two major things here. Which two things he want to see? No, there are two portions of this graph. One portion is the horizontal line. He want to see that whether you have drawn the horizontal line for the constant speed or velocity. Is it okay? So if you have drawn this line, then 1 mark will be awarded to you. Now the second mark for writing another line which must be parallel to this. What the mistake normally students commit? They just do it like this. I have seen the papers of the students who are doing it like this. Like this. Many students do it like this. So this is wrong because this line is not parallel to this line. Because he is saying that it is decelerating at the same rate as the car. So what I told you, that it must be a line which must be parallel to this line. You can see whether I am drawing the parallel line or not. Is this parallel?
Yes.
You will have to tell me that when it will be parallel.
Yes.
Now it is parallel?
Yes.
Okay. By eye you will have to observe this. Okay. Now I am going to draw this line like this. Huh? These two lines must be parallel. Now the second part. In the second part he says, explain. Now the second part, explain how your graph shows that while braking the lorry travels further than car. That from the graph, I told you that he is talking about the distance traveled, that which lorry, that the lorry travels further than car. So he is talking about the distance. And I told you that the area under the graph gives you the distance or displacement. So here, these two triangles, this triangle is for deceleration of car. This triangle is showing the deceleration for the car, and the area under the graph for the deceleration of the car is shown by this triangle, because I told you that area under the graph gives you the distance traveled. I told you that the area under the graph gives you the distance or displacement. Is it clear? So here you can see that this is the triangle which is showing the area under the graph for the deceleration of the car. जब car decelerate हो रही है, when the speed of the car is decreasing, this distance is covered by the car. And for area under the graph when the lorry is decelerating, so this bigger triangle is showing more distance covered while decelerating, and this smaller triangle is showing lesser distance covered during deceleration. It means from the area under the graph for the both triangles of lorry and the car, if you are comparing both the triangles for lorry, because this lorry has the full bigger triangle for deceleration and this car has smaller triangle. So if you are comparing these two triangles from the graph, when you see at the graph, so you can very easily tell that the lorry moves further than the car while decelerating. Okay? Is it clear?